Good evening and welcome. I'll call this hearing to order. My name is Craig Pettit and I will be your chairperson for tonight's hearing. I'd like to introduce to you the other members of the Land Division Committee, Vice Chair Liz Danielson, Pat Kennedy, and Bill Blakes. This meeting is held through remote electronic participation in accordance with Municipal Act 2001 as amended by Bill 187, the Municipal Energy Act 2020, and an order in Council of March 28, 2020, which amended the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act and prohibits organized public events of more than 10 people. The purpose of this hearing is to give the applicant or authorized agent the opportunity to discuss their application with the committee and to respond to the written submissions which may be received. It is also an opportunity for the committee to broaden our understanding of the application by asking questions. Members of the public who are participating virtually today may also make oral submissions to the committee. The procedure we use is to hear the applications in the same order as they were received in our office. Our Secretary Treasurer will introduce each application and our Director of Planning will provide a planning brief. When participants registered for the meeting, the file number of the application they have an interest in was noted by staff. Participants wishing to take part in the hearing will be admitted virtually to the Land Division Committee meeting. Participants will be provided 5 minutes to speak to the committee. As the chair, I will then ask each member of the committee by name if they have any questions. We will now proceed with the agenda for this evening's meeting. Additions to the agenda?
There are none.
There are none, and I'm just going to ask to hold for 1 minute. Did we lose Bill?
I'll be back. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Can't see the
I'm back.
video.
Okay, sorry.
Fine. Declarations of interest? None.
None.
All right, adoption of the minutes. Mover and a seconder for the minutes of the Land Division Committee meeting held June 22nd, 2020.
I so move.
Liz. And Pat.
Yeah, second.
All right, moved by Liz Danielson, second by Pat Kennedy. Be it resolved that the minutes of the Land Division Committee meeting held June 22nd, 2020 be approved as printed and circulated. All in favor? Liz Danielson,
Aye.
Pat Kennedy,
Aye.
Bill Blakes,
Aye.
carried. Thank you. We'll now ask our Secretary Treasurer, Lisa Gillen, to introduce the applications for this evening hearing. You would please, Lisa?
So first we have item 6.1, which is file number H-006 of 20. The applicant is Paula Jenkins. Location of the property is part of lot 6 and 7, concession 4, geographic township of Harcourt, now in the municipality of Dysart et al. And the purpose of the application is to create a new lot.
Okay. So this application, the purpose, as Lisa said, is to sever and create a new lot. The land will be consisting of 2.75 acres of dry land, as well as 0.85 hectares of flooded land, for a total area of 3.6 hectares, with 246 meters of frontage on Farquhar Lake. And this is developed with a garage. And the land to be retained is comprised of 5.18 hectares of dry land and 2.27 hectares of flooded land. So the retained land will have a total area of 7.45 hectares with 318 meters of frontage on Farquhar Lake. The property being created will be rural with water access only and is currently to be developed with resource-based recreational uses. And both are located in the municipality of Dysart et al. This is really the severance or creation of a new lot separating an existing island from the mainland because they've been attached basically under the water. And this does happen time to time in the county of Haliburton. We do have the agent as well as the applicant here, so I'm going to bring them in. So agent for the application is Helena Kramer, and she should be popping in a minute. Good evening, Helena.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes.
Yep. Good.
Okay. I'm Helena Kramer, and I'm with Marie Poirier Planning and Associates on behalf of the property owner, Paula Jenkins. And I'd just like to thank Charles C. for presenting the details of the proposed severance and also for working with us on this application. It's been a bit of a long haul. And also thanks to the Haliburton County Land Division Committee members for taking the time to hear this application this evening, and especially under these circumstances. With respect to the comments in the staff report, I trust you all had the chance to review it. We concur that the application conforms to both the county and municipal official plans. We further concur that proposed resulting lots exceed the lot area and frontage requirements of the zoning bylaw. The lots have sufficient size and frontage to easily meet all required setbacks and buffer requirements and provide sufficient building envelopes. Should the committee determine it appropriate to approve the severance, we agree that the conditions as recommended by staff are appropriate as set out in staff's recommendation. As such, we respectfully request that committee grant the proposed severance and the conditions as set out in the staff report. Well, thank you all once again for taking the time to hear this application, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have, and as well as Ms. White stated, the property owners are also tuned in, for lack of a better way to put it, to answer any questions. Thank you.
I will leave Helena up and bring in the property owner. So then if there's questions of the Land Division Committee, they could ask both of them at the same time. Well, in case there's any questions, the applicant speak and then
All right, I'll now ask the committee members if they have any questions or comments.
Paula, could you unmute, please?
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Did you wish to speak or?
I'm really just here in case you have any questions of me.
Sorry, thank you.
I'll ask the committee members if they have any questions or comments. Liz Danielson,
No, I don't.
Pat Kennedy,
Just point of clarification, when I pull up the property on Google Map, it actually shows two structures right on the shoreline. And it may be that Google Maps is outdated, just looking for confirmation on what kind of dwellings are on the island currently.
So I think that is outdated. There used to be a boys camp on the island and those structures were taken down. They were uninhabitable. So
Yeah,
there
they
is
look kinda
right
wet.
now, there's a garage on the island portion, but that's not the portion that we're trying to sever.
Okay, thank you.
Bill Blakes.
No questions.
Okay, thank you.
So Lisa, do you mind reading the conditions?
1 second, sorry.
I'm sorry, I do have a clarification question. Did I just hear you say that the garage is on the parcel that's to be severed?
It's
Or-
on the island portion to be severed.
Okay. I just heard it a little bit differently. That's fine, thanks.
I probably said it wrong. Sorry, Liz.
Sorry.
Okay, so the proposed conditions for this file. Number 1 are a copy of a survey, both digital and paper copy, to the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer as well as the GIS technologist for the County of Haliburton. Number 2, we require an undertaking from the applicant's solicitor confirming that the deeds will be registered on title within 2 years from the date of certification. Number 3, the registered owner shall ensure that the Riverstone wetland boundary and impact assessment are updated to reflect the comments of the county peer review completed by Greer Galloway. Number 4, the registered owner shall enter into a severance agreement, to address all planning matters, including but not limited to implementation of the recommendations of the wetland boundary and impact assessment. A copy of the registered agreement shall be provided to the municipality of Dysart prior to endorsement of the deeds. Number 5, the registered owner of both the severed and retained parcels must provide proof of exclusive deeded access to vehicular parking and trailer parking, which meet the requirements of the Dysart official plan. Number 6, the registered owner shall provide a scaled plan showing all existing structures on the property and a letter clarifying the use of those structures to the satisfaction of the municipality of Dysart. Number 7, the registered owner shall provide proof that the existing garage or dwelling has been inspected by the Dysart Building Department and passed inspection for occupancy. Number 8, the registered owner shall provide proof the existing septic has been inspected by the approval authority and passed the inspection. Number 9, the registered owner shall provide a settlement of 5% parkland dedication or cash in lieu in the amount of $1,000 for the severed parcel to the municipality of Dysart. Number 10, the registered owner shall pay the balance of any outstanding taxes owed to the municipality. Number 11, the registered owner shall ensure to the satisfaction of the municipality of Dysart that they are fully reimbursed for any costs incurred for professional services related specifically to this application. And number 12, the secretary treasurer shall receive a letter from the municipality of Dysart confirming conditions 3 through 11 have been fulfilled to its satisfaction.
Thank you.
So with this application, as with all applications to be heard this evening, if a decision is made by Land Division Committee, the applicant will receive a notice of decision from the County of Haliburton, which will indicate a 20-day appeal period. Depending on the decision, it may be the applicant or other neighboring property owners who have commented to appeal, should they wish, to the land, LPAT. And following that 20-day appeal period, should no appeals have been received by the County of Haliburton, there's a 1-year term in which those conditions must be satisfied by the applicant. So those clearance letters that Lisa has just mentioned, which apply to this file as well as some other files this evening, must be completed in addition, as well as all of the legal documentation and surveying. That's a 1-year deadline. That deadline cannot be extended. So following that 20-day appeal period, we encourage people to contact the municipality right away and begin working on those conditions.
All right. Is the applicant and the agent still?
Yep.
Right. Having heard the conditions, Helena or Paula, do you have any questions?
May take a minute for them to Paula.
Hi, sorry, no, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
And I also don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, we have a motion. Application H006-420. The decision is that provisional consent be granted. Liz Danielson,
Aye.
Pat Kennedy,
Yes.
Bill Lakes.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carried.
Okay, next we have item 6.2, which is file H-007 of 20. The applicant is Anne Marie Harriet Graham. Location of the property is part of Lot 1, Concession 2, and part of Lot 5, Concession A, Geographic Township of Snowden, now in the Township of Minden Hills. The purpose of the application is to grant an easement for right-of-way. And we did also receive a comment from a member of the public after the agenda was published. So I'm just going to read what was received now. 1 second, sorry. I only have one question about this. I'm hoping that this right-of-way will not destroy the CN and IMB turntable that sits in front of me. My family has owned this land since 1962, first with my grandmother. I used to play in there when I was a kid as the IMB was not running as the bridge over the water was gone. And that came from Cindy Watson.
Great, thank you, Lisa. So this application really is the severance to create right-of-way over an existing driveway. The driveway has been there for many years, and this is a situation that we've seen numerous times where there needs to be some sort of legal framework in order for this to continue should any future real estate transaction take place. So that's the real purpose of the application, recognizing what already exists. And to answer the question brought forward by Lisa, as per that public comment, no, there will be no impact to anything further up the rail trail or further, so north or south of the rail trail. This only applies to the portion where that existing driveway is. Yes, we have Kim Roberts. So give me one moment and I will bring her. We're just waiting for the agent for the applicant.
Hi.
Good evening.
Hello. Yeah, so Charles gave a fairly straightforward explanation. It's a fairly straightforward file. The family that owns the retained lands and the benefit lands have historically used this driveway for a number of years and are contemplating at some point down the line perhaps selling one piece or the other and thus need to legalize this existing driveway. It crosses the municipal in Minden Hills and then comes back out onto Howland Junction Road across the rail trail. We've reviewed the conditions of the consent and are satisfied that there should be no issues in fulfilling them in the 1 year should consent be granted. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions or comments, Liz Danielson?
No, I don't.
Patrick Kennedy?
No.
Bill Blakes?
No, no questions.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay, so the proposed conditions are as follows. Number 1 would be a hard copy and digital copy of an acceptable reference plan to the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer and the GIS technologist for the County of Haliburton. Number 2 is an undertaking from the applicant's solicitor confirming that the deeds will be registered on title within 2 years from the date of the certificate. Number 3 is that the lands to be severed are for the purpose of a right-of-way only to the neighboring lands as described and discussed. Currently owned by David Graham, and any subsequent conveyance of that portion of the lands to be severed for the easement is subject to the appropriate section of the Planning Act. Neither the lands to be severed nor the benefiting lands are to be reconveyed without the easement unless a further consent is obtained. Number 4, as the application is for the purpose of a right-of-way only to the lands indicated in condition number 3, the Secretary Treasurer shall receive an undertaking from the applicant's solicitor confirming the same. Number 5, the registered owner shall enter into a use of road allowance agreement with the Township of Minden Hills. And number 6, prior to the endorsement of the deeds, the Secretary Treasurer shall receive a clearance letter from the Township of Minden Hills confirming condition number 5 has been fulfilled to its satisfaction.
Thank you, Lisa. Any questions on the conditions, Kim?
No.
Thank you. Application H007 for 20. The decision is that provisional consent be granted. Liz Danielson?
Yeah, aye.
Patrick Kennedy?
Yes.
Bill Blakes?
Aye.
Motion carried.
So next we have item 6.3, which is file number H-008 of 20. The applicant is Andrew Tyrell and Anita Wenzel. The location of the property is part of Lot 21, Concession 8, Geographic Township of West Guilford, now in the municipality of Dysart et al. And the purpose of the application is to grant an easement for bell services.
So as Lisa mentioned, this one again is straightforward, easement for Bell right-of-way, just to put in servicing and infrastructure. Won't just benefit the property owner, but it could provide benefit for a number of people in the area. And tonight we do have the agent who may wish to speak to the application. Ron, are you there?
Could we just have the agent identify which firm they're representing?
Yes. Ron, are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Ron, could you also identify what firm you're with?
I'm with the Sabera Law from Kitchener. We're acting for Bell Canada as agent for the owners.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add? It's pretty straightforward from this end.
No, I just attended just in case there were questions.
Thank you. All right, any questions or comments? Liz Danielson,
No, thank you.
Pat Kennedy.
There was one notice that I see we received. Was it resolved, Lisa? Yeah, concerns about Bell easements.
There were no further comments received from what you received in the package.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Bill Blakes.
No questions.
All right, Lisa, if we could have the conditions, please.
So condition number 1 would be a hard copy and a digital copy of an acceptable reference plan submitted to the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer and the GIS technologist for the County of Haliburton. Number 2 is an undertaking from the applicant's solicitor confirming that the deeds will be registered on title within 2 years from the date of the certificate. Number 3, the lands to be severed are for the purpose of providing an easement for utilities to the benefit of Bell Canada, and neither the lands to be severed nor the benefiting lands are to be reconveyed without the easement unless a further consent is obtained. Number 4, the registered owner shall pay the balance of any outstanding taxes, including penalties and interest, to the municipality. Number 5, the registered owner shall ensure to the satisfaction of the municipality of Dysart et al. That the municipality is fully reimbursed for any costs incurred by the municipality for professional services related specifically to this application. Number 6, prior to endorsement of the deeds, the Secretary Treasurer shall receive a letter from the municipality of Dysart et al. Confirming that conditions 4 and 5 have been fulfilled to its satisfaction.
Thank you, Lisa. So we have a motion. Application H008-420. The decision is that provisional consent be granted. Liz Danielson,
Aye.
Patrick Kennedy,
Aye.
Bill Blakes,
Aye.
motion carried.
So next we have item 6.4, which is file H-009 of 20. The applicants are Ed Grant and Patricia McCary McInerney. Location of the property is part of Lot 11, Concession 7, of Minden, now in the Township of Minden Hills, and the purpose of the application is to permit a lot addition to abutting lands. We did receive 3 further comments since the agenda was published, so I'm just going to read them all to you now. The first is from Horseshoe Farms Limited. It reads as follows. Horseshoe Farms Limited, HFL, borders on the subject land at its southwestern extremity. HFL is a private limited company owned by its shareholders, all of whom are property owners on McCracken's Lane and Nawootin Lane. There are 28 owners, all of whom own cottages or homes on Horseshoe Lake. Many of these cottagers and their antecedents have enjoyed Horseshoe Lake and McCracken's Lane for 50 years and more. HFL consists of just over 42 acres and consists of early successional forest, tolerant hardwood forest, and treed swamp. HFL was incorporated in 1967 and became a managed forest in the 1990s. HFL finds itself in a bit of a dilemma in this matter, as the prospective buyer of the subject property is one of the 28 owners of HFL. When there is a willing seller and a willing and able buyer, as exists in this matter, and as long as all county rules and regulations are met, it is difficult to oppose the application. Nevertheless, HFL does oppose this application for consent. The basis for HFL's opposition are as follows. Number one, the prospective buyer denies that he intends to operate a heating, ventilation, and air conditioning HVAC business on the subject land. HFL owners have some difficulty taking him at his word since his HVAC business is already listed on the internet at 1090 McCracken's Lane. Number two, the prospective buyer has stated that he intends to build a 40-foot by 50-foot building on the subject land to store his toys. A 2,000 square foot building has the capacity to store a lot of toys. HFL owners suspect that this building will be the prospective buyer's HVAC business premises. Number three, HFL owners are vehemently opposed to the establishment of a manufacturing business on McCracken's Lane, which is a private lane. An HVAC manufacturing facility would be contrary to the purpose and spirit of a lane occupied by 26 homes and cottages. HFL owners are aware that these three issues are matters more appropriately under the purview of the Township of Minden Hills and not under the purview of the County of Haliburton. However, bylaw enforcement by the town of Minden Hills with respect to zoning issues and building permit issues have been underfunded and therefore underenforced for many years. For this reason, HFL owners are appealing to the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton to deny this application for consent. Respectively submitted, Scott Sweatman, President, Horseshoe Farms Limited. So that was the first of three. The second that was received after the agenda was published is an email from Brent Katzmeyer. Hi, I do have some concerns on this application for consent. Number one, the new purchaser of this property is planning to build a large HVAC shop, as he has talked about for years, to run his business HVAC services, which on Google Maps already shows at 1090 McCracken's Lane. This is a residential lane area as far as I am aware. Number two, this lane is a quiet cottage lane with cottagers walking, children riding bikes and playing. A busy business would cause safety concerns. And number three, this business will cause substantially more lane traffic and more frequent repairs, costing lane owners even more. Thanks, Brent. So that was two of three. The third was also an email received from Bruce Donaldson. My questions would be as follows. Number one, is it the responsibility of the applicant to post signs on the property that is the subject of the lot line adjustment severance application? If so, then maybe you should be aware that there are no signs on the property. Number two, according to the land use regulations zoning bylaw, if the land associated with this application is to be used for commercial purposes, would a further application be required as a condition of approval? Thanks for your assistance. Much appreciated, Bruce.
Lisa. All right, any questions or comments from the committee members?
Would you
I
like,
have a
I can
question.
provide a bit more information if you'd like. So the first, with the sketch, let's first look at the sketch that was submitted in association with the application. So McCracken's Lane, which is seen in this purpley color, appears to be municipally owned from the county road only so far as where you see the 67 meters. The remainder of the road is a private right-of-way. It is not a municipally maintained road. So that's the first piece. The second is the green is what is being retained. The red on the sketch is what is being severed for the purpose of a lot addition to the blue, which is to the north of the red. There are numerous property owners north of the blue, as well as some of the property owners, which you see as 0428 and 0429 on this plan as part of the sketch. That's not their 911 address. They also gain access off McCracken's Lane through the portion to be severed for lot addition. So one of the proposed conditions, the very first condition, is that 28 property owners be all listed as having access over, across, and for the purpose of vehicular travel on the existing right-of-ways as they're depicted here. So that's the first, is the sketch. Are there any questions before I go into some zoning and other information?
No, thanks, Charlie.
No problem. All right, so the application is for a lot addition as identified in the application. It's for a vacant parcel of rural land to be added to an existing seasonal dwelling. So it's a resource-based recreational. That's what the permitted use is. A number of comments have been brought forward with regard to the applicant, or the benefiting property owner, sorry, not the applicant, the benefiting property owner who wishes to construct a large building for the purposes of running his business. So in my planning report, as well as I'm going to state here, the application before land division is identified as a lot addition for seasonal purposes, so resource-based recreational. The applicant has not identified that the benefiting property owner lives there year-round. Living there year-round would allow them to have an accessory, so a use which would be a home occupation or a home industry, as long as they met other requirements. One of those requirements for any structure accessory to a home industry would be a 300-meter setback from the water. The subject lands included within the lot addition do not meet a 300-meter setback. So in order for any future development on this property beyond a seasonal residential dwelling, the Township of Minden Hills would require at minimum a zoning bylaw amendment to address all of the items I've identified, plus there may be others that I'm not aware of going forward. So the application before Land Division Committee is simply for the addition of this land, and as been identified by members of the public, there could be additional motives behind this in the future for developing the property, but as of yet, it has not been identified by the applicant or the benefiting property owner. And if there's any further questions, I'm happy to answer.
Is there any way that we can include in the conditions anything to preclude an HVAC business? No?
Well, that would all be, as Charles said, it would all be subject to the municipal bylaws. And that would require a change, which means an application that any property would have input.
And we wouldn't want to tell the council of the Township of Minden Hills what they can and cannot do. But we could include a condition requiring that all of the property, so the proposed severed and the benefiting land, be rezoned to a consistent zone, at which time members of the neighboring property owners could participate in that process. But that does not mean that the applicant is going to move forward with a proposed business that we have not been confirmed is or is not going to happen. It may be a bit presumptuous, but yes, you could put a rezoning in as a condition and see what happens.
I think that in dealing with what's in front of us, that probably is a bit beyond our scope right now. I think it's all pretty straightforward as to what the process would be for anything such as that to occur.
Additionally, Land Division Committee is able to make a decision to approve, to refuse, or to defer. So Land Division Committee can ask the benefiting property owner to confirm the use prior to making a decision. I don't think that may be able to address some of the concerns. It's an option that you have.
All right, thanks, Charles. All right, any questions or comments from the committee? Liz Danielson?
Well, I like that option of confirming the land use. One question, I'm assuming if they wanted to build a large structure, and as you said, Charles, they need to be 300 feet from the waterfront, they would have to have a minor variance in order to do that?
So we don't allow minor variances through the county official plan for such things. It would probably be an OPA because it's also on a private road. So from a land use planning perspective, running a business on a private road, especially in this area where it's rather steep, would have to be considered as well. And that would be for the township to consider.
Okay, Liz?
I like the idea of deferral and clarification of use.
Pat Kennedy?
To me, this is just right now, the way it's presented is a simple land transfer. So are we actually allowed to go that far, or we just take it at face value and whoever the new owner is will have to go through Minden Hills to make any changes?
So as a committee of county council, you do have that authority to ask and or defer any questions of the applicant. Now the applicant is here, but he's not the benefiting property owner. We could request that the benefiting property owner participate in the next meeting. It's to provide information on which you're making a decision, because once the decision is made and if all the conditions are satisfied, the creation of the lot exists forever into the future, right? So once a consent, always a consent. So we need to consider that as well. And if you're not comfortable with the information before you, let's ask the questions.
And I would recommend defer.
Bill Blakes?
If there's nothing to say that there's a 2,000 square foot building going up there right now. And if he did decide there's a number of obstacles that he would have to come across, which is zoning, he'd have to apply for a building permit, he'd have to go through the loops then. But at the moment, there's nothing telling me that, except the neighbors have heard that there's going to be a 2,000 square foot HVAC building put there. So I'll go with deferral if we need clarification. I'll be happy with that, but I also think that if it goes through, the township of Minden Hills can be advised that these are the concerns that's coming up, and keep an eye out for it.
Thank you. Liz, did you have something to add?
Well, yeah, just in response to Bill's comments that there's nothing other than what the neighbors are saying to show that there's going to be building there. But if in fact there's an advertising of an HVAC business on that address, to me, that's more than just what the neighbors are saying.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. Yeah, that's the only thing. So
No, nor have I.
All right, well, there again, we're things that aren't really in front of us, as far as making the decision. However, we have the applicant here. And would you like to comment, Pitt?
You have to unmute yourself, please. Thank you.
I would. We've applied to sever land to be attached to an adjoining property. All of the safeguards or addresses to concerns, I believe Bill stated very clearly, whatever happened from that point on is fully under the control of the Township of Minden Hills, and they can make the decisions one way or the other. We're not here applying to build a building. We're here applying to sever a portion of land and transfer it over. I would really hope that we stick to the issue at hand and leave the other authority in control of whatever building or not would be built.
Okay, thank you.
Now, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
So Lisa, if you could read the conditions, and then I will provide two options with regards to the resolutions for Land Division Committee.
Please.
Thank you, Lisa.
Computer timed out. Just 1 second here. Okay, so the proposed conditions are as follows. Number 1, 1 hard copy and 1 digital copy of an acceptable reference plan be provided to the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer and the GIS technologist for the County of Haliburton. Number 2, the deeds be accompanied by an undertaking from the applicant solicitor confirming that they will be registered on title within 2 years from the date of the certificate. Number 3, the lands to be severed for the purpose of a lot addition only to the adjacent lands identified previously as 1090 McCracken's Lane, currently owned by Kevin Gibbons and Gloria Moffett, and any subsequent conveyance of the lands are subject to the Planning Act. Neither of the lands to be severed nor the adjacent lands are to be reconveyed without the other parcel unless a further consent is obtained. The owner shall cause the lands to be severed to be consolidated on title with the adjacent lands. Number 3 would be an undertaking from the applicant's solicitor confirming that the lands to be severed will be consolidated on title with the adjacent lands. Number 5 is that the lands to be severed also contain an easement for right-of-way to all neighboring lands identified as the properties from 1074 McCracken's Lane through to 1218 McCracken's Lane. Sorry, there's more. 1265 McCracken's Lane, as well as Horseshoe Farms Limited, which does not have a civic address. So I believe there are 28 properties total. It might be 29. And any subsequent conveyance of that portion of land to be severed for the easement is subject to the Planning Act. Neither lands to be severed nor the benefiting lands are to be reconveyed without the easement unless a further consent is obtained. And those lands are identified in the planning report, which was part of the agenda that was published last week. Condition number 6, as the application is for the purpose of a lot addition only to the lands. Sorry, I think there's an error with condition 6. It should be, I believe, an undertaking confirming the easement will remain with those lands, because I think we already had an undertaking requiring the lot addition from the surveyor, or from the solicitor, I mean, sorry. So condition 6 will have to be updated. Condition 7 would be the owner shall provide to the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer a certification from a solicitor or an Ontario land surveyor that the severed parcel has a registered legal right-of-way from a publicly maintained road. And B, if the access road crosses Crown land, an opinion from a solicitor that the access road is not a private forest road, and therefore the Crown recognizes that the severed parcel has a right of access as set out in the Public Lands Act. Number 8, the owner shall ensure that the updated survey of the land subject to the lot addition includes the location of all easements for rights of way over, across, and upon the subject lands, current and historic. Number 9, the registered owner shall pay the balance of any outstanding taxes to the municipality. Number 10, a copy of all reference plans associated with this application shall be provided to the municipal planner for the Township of Minden Hills for approval prior to registration. Number 11, the registered owner shall ensure to the satisfaction of the Township of Minden Hills that the township is fully reimbursed for any costs incurred by the township for professional services related specifically to this application. And number 12, prior to endorsement of the deeds, the Secretary Treasurer shall receive a letter from the Township of Minden Hills confirming that conditions 9 through 11 have been fulfilled to its satisfaction.
All right, Ed, do you have any questions on the conditions that you've just heard?
No.
He's muted again.
Need to unmute. Sorry, thank you, Ed.
No, sir, I do not.
Okay, thank you. All right, now given that there are some concerns with the committee members, I would ask each one once again to make any comments or questions that you have. Liz Dennison.
I don't have any more comments or questions. I remain with my desire for deferral.
Thank you. Patrick Kennedy.
Yes, deferral, and if possible, if the recipient could attend the next meeting to answer any questions, is that appropriate?
All right, Bill Blakes.
No, I'll just stick with what I said earlier on.
Thank you. So we will have two options here. One would be to grant provisional consent. One would be to defer. The reason for deferral would be the Land Division Committee requests additional information related to the use of property and future development plans, and requests the benefiting property owner to attend the next Land Division hearing on file H009. There are your two options. I would need a mover and a seconder on whichever one you prefer.
I would like to move option 2,
Which is,
defer.
thank you. Okay, do we have a seconder on that or a mover on the other option?
And Councillor Danielson's motion.
On which one? Deferral? Just needed to hear you say which one was.
All right, on the deferral.
Yeah, thank you. All right, we have a motion, application H009 for 20. The decision is that the application be deferred. Liz Danielson,
Aye.
Patrick Kennedy,
Yes.
Bill Blakes.
Yes, okay.
All right, motion is carried.
So to the applicant, we will be in contact with how to proceed forward with regards to this application. So a decision will still have to be made at a future date, and we will let you know the date of the next public meeting for which this application will be heard by the Land Division Committee.
All right, are you okay?
Just so the committee knows, we do still have 2 attendees who have chosen to stay on and listen, and that is fine. But just so you know, there's 2 people listening.
All right, we have a motion here for 8.1 statistics. Mover and a seconder.
I second.
All right. Mover. Thank you. All right, be it resolved, the Land Division Committee received the following reports for information purposes. 8.1 statistics. You've all had a chance to read it. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Liz Danielson,
Aye.
Pat Kennedy,
Aye.
Bill Blakes.
Aye.
Very. All right, we have a motion for the following privacy policy updates, draft conditions policy, site visit policy. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Pat, move.
I'll second.
Liz?
Yep.
Be it resolved, the Land Division Committee approved the following policy updates: 9.1 draft conditions policy and 9.2 site visit policy. Charles, would you like to speak?
Sure. So the site visit policy is pretty straightforward. It is almost the exact same as it was prior. We have undertaken some policy review at the county and need to update these to make sure they're still current and accurate based on the existing environment that we're working in. So that one really is straightforward. The conditions policy, we do try to keep this up to date as much as possible, both with changes with the Planning Act, as well as PPS, as well as when local municipalities are working towards updating their planning documents, as well as the county. So it's good to review it every once in a while. Just because the policy includes conditions, it does not preclude us from adding additional conditions, whether that comes from an outside agency like M&R or Hydro, or whether it comes from the local municipality. There may be something that is not included in there and would be brought forward to land division for your consideration. These are the general conditions that we would use at the county, but again, there could be additional policies asked for by one of our consulting agents.
Thank you. All right, you've heard the motion. Liz Danielson,
Aye.
Pat Kennedy,
Aye.
Bill Blakes,
Aye.
motion carried. All right, is there anything else? You'd like-
No other business?
Any committee members have anything you would like to share? No?
Nope.
All right, thank you. All right, we need a mover and a seconder for the adjournment.
I'll move it.
Bill. Seconder?
Pat.
Thank you. What's our official time, Sean?
7:51.
Just a note, your sound is breaking up a little bit in the council chambers.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we've been able to hear you, but there's been some breaking up.
And I have heard some feedback. James is here with us, and we thought maybe it was the speaker versus the television because we have it up on the TV. So definitely something we will look into. So thank you for letting us know it's not just me.
All right, moved by Bill Blake, second by Pat Kennedy, be it resolved, the Land Division Committee meeting of July 20th, 2020 be hereby adjourned at 7:51 PM. Liz Danielson,
Aye.
Pat Kennedy,
Aye.
Bill Blakes,
Aye.
motion carried. All right, thank you all for your time this evening and your participation.
And thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night.